hardest thing in life is figuring out who you are and what you want to do for the rest of your life. And once you figure that out, you wake up every day and you work toward it. It's impossible for you to fail if you know who you are, what you want to do, and you wake up every day and work toward it.
Most people, the bottom 80%, are lazy. They're looking for an easy way. They're looking for a shortcut to be successful. And there aren't any. But if you do something repeatedly, over and over, you develop a habit. So most people are in the habit of looking for easy ways to get the things they want.
Here's how to get older without getting better. Keep relearning the same lesson. If you keep making the same mistake over and over, the mistake isn't the problem. You are. What would have had to have happened in a week for you to look back on that week with pride? Maybe stop breaking promises to yourself. When you say, I'm going to wake up tomorrow at 7 a.m., and when the option comes to hit the snooze button, don't do it. There's one win that you've got for the day. That's action.
Because if you're thinking, then you're not taking action. And if you're not taking action, then there's no consequence. And if there's no consequence, then there's nothing to be afraid of. The overthinking can be an excuse for actual fear.
How many times do you have to hear, if nothing changes, nothing changes? Right? And yet, somehow we expect things to change.
Everything worthwhile is uphill. You see, every dream that you've ever had, it's all uphill. If you have a great relationship with somebody, you had to work on it. It's uphill. If you've built a wonderful business, guess what? It was uphill. If you've made the right decisions, they're not easy, are they? It's uphill. And the only way that you can go uphill is to be intentional. Nobody ever accidentally went uphill. You've never talked to a successful person and said, how did you get to the top of the mountain? And then look at you and say, I have no idea. If they're at the top of the mountain, they know how they got there. Because they had to have effort. It took energy. It took time. Everything worthwhile is uphill.
Wow. Consistency, man. That's the name of the game, bro. Don't get much simpler than that. If you keep going every single day and don't stop, your competition will fall off, bro. These ain't cut like you, bro. They ain't ready for prime time. They ain't trying to really get right. They take days off, this day off, that day off. They lazy. I'm tired. No. Grind every day, one foot in front of the other, bro. And I promise you, you're gonna be lapping these folks, bro. Give it a year. Watch what happens.
Here's the big challenge of life. You can have more than you've got because you can become more than you are. That's the challenge. And of course, the other side of the coin reads, unless you change how you are, you'll always have what you got.
You know, you must hope and believe in yourself if you ever want to see what that hope can turn into, what that belief can turn into. By doing this every day, repetitively, those are the measures that lead to the big moments of success that everyone sees in life. No one sees the struggle in here. No one sees the hardship, the early mornings you get up. No one sees any of that. They just see if your hand's raised or not. And if it is, oh, what a great guy. Oh, I wish I could be that guy. I wish I could be that guy. But they're not clapping, wishing they could be you at 5 in the morning when you get out of bed, when it's pissing rain outside, to come and train for that hand to be raised. They don't want to be that guy. They just want the glory. And that's the differential of a champion. You know, in adversity, guys, is where you find character.
So I define learning by same condition, new behavior. And so when you go to a video game and you battle through the level and you battle the boss, if you keep doing the same thing to the boss and you keep losing, then you have not learned, because you have the same condition and the same behavior. And so I often say that, like, for anyone who's listening to this podcast, if the goal is to get better and you're like, man, I really want to learn something from this podcast. If you listen to this podcast and then you're in the same exact conditions as you were before, and then you do not change your behavior, you learned nothing. And so using that definition has at least allowed me to change my behavior faster, which then goes into rate of learning, which I define as intelligence. And so a lot of people are like, man, he's so smart, but he just doesn't. It's like, well, then if he doesn't change his behavior and he's in the same conditions, he's not that smart.
If you don't change what you're doing and how you do it, nothing else will change.
I was not always this strong guy you see. I went through a lot of hard times in my life to get here today. And a story I'll tell you with real quick. I tried once to get in the Air Force to be an Air Force pararescueman. And I quit for fear of the water. I was 175 pounds. I left the Air Force 4 years later at 300 pounds. I went from 175 to 300 pounds. There's a long story in there on how that came to be.
We can stay here, get the shit kicked out of us, or we can fight our way back into the light. We can climb out of hell. 1 inch at a time.
You're always afraid to take the first step because all you see is every negative thing 10 miles down the road. But you can do anything you want. You are bound by nothing.
It's a lot easier to sit around and make a list of what you're going to do in the future. What's easier? It's easier to take out a pen and a piece of paper and write things down. And so people will substitute that action for the action that will actually change them and make them better and move them closer to that version of who they know they can become. So let's just be careful. Just be careful. Be careful of getting caught in that planning phase of who you can become. Be careful of that planning phase, because the planning phase should be about 3 seconds long. And then it's time to go get after it.
What I want to invite you to do, what I want you to consider, is that every single time you go and do something hard, that's the story you've told yourself, that it's easier said than done. You know, it's kind of hard to do that. Well, it's supposed to be fucking hard. Look, if growing stronger and building muscle were fucking easy, you'd have no reason to go to the gym. There would be no growth if there was no challenge.
You get up in the morning, what are you going to do today? I'm going to win today. Well, just by saying that you're going to win today, you ain't going to win today. It's a jungle out there. See, most of us, we come out to compete every single day. The jungle comes to win because the jungle is always prepared.
We expect things to change. You think you're going to get in better shape. You think you're going to get more money. You think your relationship is going to improve. You think you're going to get promoted. You think you're going to get a raise. You think the world is going to get better without you doing anything, but it isn't. Nothing is going to change unless you change what you're doing. Change the time that you wake up. Change what you do when you get out of bed. That's what you need to do. You have to change some things or nothing will change. So make changes and start little. Get up a little bit earlier, get a workout done. That's what you need to do.
Your current situation is not your final destination. There's more to your life. And I know right now it's hard for you to believe that, but I need you to believe it. Like everything you're currently facing is building you for something greater. You're more than your struggles. You're more than your pain. I know you feel like nobody understands you. Nobody gets you. I know you feel alone and isolated. So I want to tell you, I'm proud of you for not giving up when it's so easy to.
When you want to achieve the highest goal of all time, you are going to have to learn how to get your ass kicked all the way up that damn mountain. If I want to be way up here, it's going to take a bunch of small micro failures along the way. But you have to understand that that is part of the process.
You need to just keep living. Listen to the pain. It's both history teacher and fortune teller. Pain teaches us who we are, Wade. Sometimes it's so bad, we feel like we're dying. But we can't really live till we die a little, can we?
Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary.
Make your move before you're ready. I'll tell you where big dreams go to die. They go to the planning place. Preparing myself. And it's the biggest con job we work on ourselves. There are so many bones of big dreams in that graveyard where people, there's always going to be a set of reasons to wait.
Work, 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 work. No results, but I'm a little bit better. Work, 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 work. Work, 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 work. No results, but I'm a little bit better. Work, 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 work. No results, I'm a little bit better. Work. Boom, just got paid. I just got paid. And it looks like overnight success. Yeah. It's like, oh, shit, it happened in a year. No, bro, it doesn't.
Feeling stuck is a signal that you've stopped growing. And when most people feel stuck, they don't understand that it's tied to a fundamental need for growth. We believe it's an existential crisis and we blow up our lives. For most human beings, what actually will get you feeling like you're not stuck is having something in the future that you're looking forward to. Learning anything gets you back in touch with a fundamental need. It makes you start to feel like things are moving. And from that place of feeling a little bit more empowered, you'll be able to make better decisions about what big things need to change in your life.
Everything that you are, everything that you're becoming is a resilient pad of growth. On that pad is a launch. That's where you take off. That's where you find out what you're really made of. It's not about waiting until the end and one day you'll go after it. Make today day one. Today is the day that I decided I wanted to be great, so I'm going to do it. I decided I want to go after my goals, after my dreams. That's the mindset that you have to have. Because today is the day you were given breath. I'm here with a purpose and live on purpose. Not off of your resume of where you've been, but on the direction and understanding of where you're going. There's a call on you. It's time for you to answer it.
So if you're in the woods and you don't know where to go, start walking. You got to start walking because the perspective's not going to change. You have to start moving forward. You have to start taking steps in order to improve your vision, improve your perspective, change your perspective, make some kind of progress. And worst case scenario, you figure out that you walked the wrong direction. Okay, now you can go walk in the other direction. And that's going to be fine. But standing there lost and not doing anything is just waiting to die, waiting to starve to death. Don't let that happen.
Consistency is even rarer than talent or enthusiasm. Every January 1st in the gym, rock open, everyone's keen to do something, they've got these New Year's resolutions, they're all enthusiastic, and some of those people will be talented. But how many of those people end up being consistent long term?
The reality is when you do things that are easy in life, you don't value them as much. When you do things that are difficult and that require you to dig really deep, then you value them more. It's easy to quit. It's easier to try something that's already been done before. It's harder when you don't know what the end result will be. It's harder when you face the uphill challenge and you deal with it and you face it head on. It's where you build confidence in yourself. That's where you build your own self-esteem. You know, if things are given to you, you never have a sense of how difficult it is to actually earn it.
Everyone talks about the destination, but very few people talk about the journey. That's where the iron is forged. In the monotony of doing the right thing day in and day out, your part of the deal is to keep showing up for yourself, to stick around and see what happens when you really go all in. Don't just settle for mediocrity. Just hold up your end of the bargain and watch how life will turn in your favor.
Pain is a beautiful thing. Challenge is what life is about. A life without challenge, a life without pain is a life without growth. And where there is no growth, there is stale, stagnant energy. And that's where most people live. Because most people's lives are designed around treading a path that is void of challenge. The minute they recognize challenge or pain, they move the other way. This is a primal instinct and normal and natural, but a weak perspective. Your aliveness is found in your pain. Embrace it, love it, and grow from it.
Rich people don't sleep 8 hours a day. That's a third of your life.
I had 130 days in game, just sitting, looking at a screen, playing one character in one game.
If you think ordinary's cool, Ain't no problem. But if you are sitting in this room and you have extraordinary aspirations, then you're going to have to do extra.
Imagine if I could put this kind of focus into something in real life and just make that seem a little bit like a video game. Imagine the results I could get then.
You have to decide if you are willing to do the things to put you in that category.
You know, when you're kind of addicted to it, you can play at any time.
You cannot be sleep 8 hours a day. You can't live in LA and wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's 11 o'clock on the East Coast. The stock market been open 2 hours. They already making decisions about your life and your ass was asleep.
And again, so I was just like, imagine if I could feel like that, but in real life, turn life into a video game.
The Bible says, he who loves to sleep and the folding of hands, poverty will set upon you like a thief in the night.
The bike got easier. I was able to run more. I went from like 1 mile. 1 mile was a great accomplishment. 2 miles, and then from 2 to 3 was a big one. Then I went from 3 to 6. And then, like, they have a warning order that they give people to get ready for buds. And the whole thing was running 6 miles 5 days a week. And that was my goal. And so I just I failed, I go back to scratch. I used some positive motivation. I had like one day where I was like fucking defeated. But I started realizing this is part of the process. This is part of the journey. I had to realize this is part of my process versus just saying, like I used to, I'm just not good enough. If I'm not good enough, we always say that shit. I'm just not good enough, and then we try something else. I'm gonna fucking make myself good enough. And that became my mentality. I'm gonna make myself good enough. And so I'm misunderstood a lot, but that's all it came down to. I made myself good enough. And the days I couldn't run that far, the next week, I would do 2-a-days. So on the running, if I ran a quarter of a mile, I wait a couple hours, it'd haunt me, bother me. I try to run a half mile next time, same day. You can do more than this. If I had to walk, I had to walk. It just became just a process of grinding and grinding, and grinding is not even a good word for it.